4 a.m., September 2024. A quiet suburban street in Ireland erupts into chaos. Armed police storm 27 properties in a massive, coordinated raid. Encrypted phones buzz desperately. Cartel members scramble to cover their tracks, but it's already too late. This is Operation Kraken, the strike that has brought the Kinahan Cartel to its knees. The criminal underworld will never be the same again. The once mighty Kinahan Cartel is imploding. Its once untouchable bosses are on the run, playing a global game of cat and mouse with the US authorities.
The United States Department of State is pleased to announce a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to the financial disruption of the KTCO or the arrest and convictions of its leaders.
For decades, the Irish mob bosses ruled like kings, smuggling billions of dollars of drugs, selling weapons, and leaving a trail of blood and bullets in their wake.
A gang that has caused so much destruction and death here and abroad.
From the gritty streets of Dublin to the lavish towers of Dubai, they built a billion-dollar empire and rose to become Europe's most feared crime family.
They sell drugs, they sell weapons, and they offer a money laundering facility.
The Kinahans counted A-list celebrities as friends. They called the shots at the very top of the boxing world.
The Gypsy Kinahan, this is Daniel Kinahan and Tyson Fury pictured in Dubai.
All of it leaving countless victims of violence and addiction across the world in their wake.
But by 2025, their untouchable facade was shattered. The Dubai hideaway has been compromised, their vast assets frozen by sanctions, and key lieutenants are in prison.
In a series of very significant enforcement measures that will deal a heavy blow, if not a crippling blow, to the Kinahan Organised Crime Gang.
And their once unbreakable communications have been hacked. The cartel leaders, Christy Kinahan, his son Daniel, and Christopher Jr, are running out of places to hide. With options evaporating, the end is near, and prison awaits. How did they rise to such incredible power? Why did the rich and famous turn a blind eye for so long? And what brought this mighty cartel to its knees? This is the unmissable story of the fawn of the Kinahans. It began on the streets of Dublin, where Christy Kinahan rose rapidly through the Irish underworld. Unlike many of his peers, Kinahan had a pleasant, middle-class upbringing, but he wasn't interested in the respectable life. He yearned for something much bigger. He started out faking checks, and while most around him were content with petty theft, Christy dreamed of building an empire. He quickly became known as the Dapper Don, thanks to his fondness for smart suits and Panama hats. In the early 1980s, he spotted a lucrative opportunity that could give him the power he craved. Dublin was being flooded with cheap heroin from Iran, bringing misery to communities across the city. Kinahan jumped headfirst into the drugs importation business, moving shipments of Class A's. He soon began making serious cash from his new venture. But then, in 1986, police stopped his car and found him in possession of over £100,000 worth of heroin. The would-be mob boss was sentenced to 6 years in prison, leaving behind his wife and children, Daniel, 10, and Christopher Jr., 6. Christy vowed to make a better life for his young sons as soon as he was released. Behind bars, he plotted his return to the streets, determined to come back better, smarter, more ruthless than before. He turned prison into his university, mastering Spanish, Dutch, and Russian, skills that would later help him connect to South American cartels and European mafias. By the 1990s, as Ireland's economy boomed, the cocaine trade took off. Christy saw an even bigger opportunity than heroin. He didn't just want to supply drugs, he wanted to control the market. With the help of Colombian cartels and the Russian mafia, he set up routes from South America to Spain and into Ireland. His henchmen moved cocaine in bulk, and he laundered the profits through a complex web of shell companies, offshore accounts, and seemingly legitimate businesses. By the late 2000s, his operation controlled drug flows into the continent. His gang could buy cocaine for as little as $2,000 a brick and sell it for $50,000. Christy built up a property portfolio, allegedly worth as much as $1 billion, including $500 million in Brazil and another $160 million in Spain. By this point, he had solidified his reputation as one of the most formidable crime lords of his time. But it was never enough to satisfy his craving for power. By now, the Kinahans were more than just drug lords. They were power brokers. Christy had moved the family to the glitzy town of Marbella in southern Spain, which would become the hub of their global operations. His son Daniel stepped into the spotlight to run their growing business. Charismatic and shrewd, Daniel was the face of a new era for the cartel. But he craved more than wealth. He wanted legitimacy. Daniel used his millions to enter the world of professional boxing, co-founding the promotion company MTK Global. Boxing is a sport where money talks, and Daniel had money to burn. MTK quickly became one of the sport's most powerful management companies. The younger Kinahan advised world champions, arranged high-profile bouts, and gained public praise from a string of celebrities. Few people within the sport wanted to confront the truth about where Kinahan's cash had come from. To the outside world, he was presented as just another successful businessman. And behind the scenes, the drug business was in a golden era. Encrypted phones like EncroChat and Ghost allowed cartels to coordinate drug shipments, order hits, and launder millions, all without leaving a trace. Cryptocurrency provided a new route to launder their cash and leave it instantly around the world. The Kinahans' empire stretched from the jungles of South America to the palaces of Dubai. They were untouchable, or so they thought. The first cracks emerged on February 5th, 2016. The Regency Hotel in Dublin was alive with energy, as fans, promoters, and fighters gathered for a weigh-in of a high-profile boxing match. Among them was Daniel Kinahan. Lurking outside was a hit squad with a singular goal: to murder him. Gunmen stormed the venue, some dressed as armed police, another dressed as a woman in a wig and makeup. Shouts erupted as terrified attendees dove for cover. Then came the deafening roar of gunfire. Daniel Kinahan managed to slip away in the chaos, but his associate David Byrne wasn't so lucky. Byrne, one of the cartel's most trusted enforcers, was shot multiple times and died at the scene. The attack was brazen, theatrical, and broadcast across the world. It delivered a direct message to the Kinahans: you are not untouchable. It was the opening salvo in a gang war that plunged Dublin into chaos, claiming 18 lives and leaving behind a trail of bloodshed. But for Daniel Kinahan, the real damage was the spotlight the attack shone on the Kinahan Cartel. The family that had ruled in the shadows was thrust into the harsh glare of international scrutiny. A target had been painted on the Kinahans' backs for law enforcement worldwide. Suddenly, the family was facing relentless pressure from the investigators. Would the empire implode, or could the dapper Don evade justice once again? The cartel had relied on encrypted phone networks to shield their operations, coordinate shipments, and launder billions and order hits with impunity. But in 2020, those shields came crashing down. Law enforcement cracked EncroChat, turning the cartel's secret weapon into their undoing. Every message, every deal, every plot was exposed. In one intercepted exchange, members of the cartel orchestrated an elaborate scheme to plant weapons in Northern Ireland. The hacked messages landed Thomas Kavanagh and his associates behind bars. Then more dominoes began to fall. A top-tier Kinahan enforcer got 17.5 years for firearms offenses. Another received a life sentence for a 2016 murder. And 2 more were given 9 years and 6 years for their roles in the same killing. In all, over 70 Kinahan associates were jailed in Ireland alone. But somehow, investigators still couldn't nail the top bosses. Until everything changed in 2022. US authorities placed a $15 million bounty on the heads of Christy Kinahan, Daniel Kinahan, and Christopher Kinahan Jr. The move froze their global assets and sent a clear message: the world was coming for the leaders of the cartel. The net tightened further in 2023 when Liam Byrne, the senior Kinahan lieutenant, was arrested in Spain and extradited to the UK. Then came the knockout blow. Operation Kraken. Over 300 officers raided 27 locations, seizing 15 million euros worth of cocaine and arresting key Kinahan clan members. For the Kinahan leaders, nowhere was safe anymore. For years, Daniel and his father had used Dubai as their fortress. In the glittering towers of the desert city, they lived like kings, far from the reach of Irish and European law enforcement. Dubai was a haven for criminals, a sanctuary where Kinahans believed they were untouchable. But the world was catching up. New treaties turned Dubai from a refuge into a trap. Sean McGovern, one of Daniel Kinahan's closest allies, was extradited to Ireland in 2024, a moment that sent shockwaves through the cartel. Now the once mighty Kinahans are scrambling. Christy is reportedly planning his escape to Russia, while Daniel is rumored to be negotiating with Iran and Pakistan. Whispers even speak of a bizarre plan to build a new haven in Africa. The men who once ruled a billion-euro empire now face the reality of collapse and a life behind bars. As the net closes in, one question remains. Will they finally face justice, or will they vanish into the shadows forever?